Hello, welcome to another late night edition of the Hotline Live. My name is Daniel Com. Delighted to be joined by the one and only Keith Jackson. Keith, how are you faring?
Not well, Dan. Not well. You know, would you be familiar with the comedian Rick Mail?
Of course, the young ones.
Yeah, and then he went on to create a comedy character who was a politician called Alan Bastard.
Oh, aye, I remember that.
B''STRD. But I only bring that up because I've been hammered by an absolute cluster bastard of a flu thing that apparently is sweeping the place, but oh my god, it's knocking us out. I'm just glad that they haven't given it a scary name and shut us all down. But it feels very similar, I have to tell you.
Well, listen, I've got the exact remedy for you. A night of Premiership action.
Brilliant.
Where should we start? I mean,
well, look, Dan, see, in terms of, we talked about the SPFL, and I had sat and watched last night the Fulham Man City. It was just a superb game of football, and I'm not going to claim that we've got the quality or the same levels up here, but my God, if you want drama, the SPFL's got that. I mean, that was just extraordinary. Absolutely. High octane, high drama, and potentially highly consequential in terms of this year's title race, because moves are being made now, Dan. Celtic were the only winners of the night, and it's pulled them level. And what a mic drop moment for Martin O'Neill to walk out of his interim stint, having dragged Celtic back from 8 points behind Hearts to level at the top, set it all up perfectly for Wilfried Nancy. He's got him in a cup final and put him in the mixer for qualification in Europe. I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up. It is really incredible stuff.
And Celtic's probably the best place to start because we're joined all the way from Celtic Park by Record Sports' Ryan McDonald. Ryan, wasn't a classic, but as Keith says, a farewell win for O'Neill.
Yeah, it was a perfect way to bow out. It was a bit nervy towards the end for Celtic. I don't think they were anywhere near the best. It was almost a bit of a throwback to Brendan Rodgers' final days in charge, if I'm being honest. But they got the job done. Daizen Maeda putting his body in the line, caught in a black eye and a bandage round the head. But wow, was that goal worth it? And the 3 points as well could prove absolutely crucial come this weekend and obviously the end of the season. It was a brilliant send off for Martin O'Neill at the end as well. He looked almost embarrassed as he was taking the acclaim of the Celtic fans. That's not usually his thing. Usually he's the first one up the tunnel at full time. But yeah, he was almost forced to do that. He was almost forced to do that.
Did he go a lap on and Brendan's Honda Civic?
He was almost forced to do a kind of lap of honor around the stadium. It was a bit of a half. I think he did half the stadium around the 73 after all. So, but yeah, it was a fitting send off. And usually, come full time at Celtic Park, the place empties quite quickly. But quite a lot of fans stayed behind to give the man a brilliant send off, and his name was sung loud and proud from all 4 sections of the stadium, and he gave a nice speech at the end as well. Said it's been an absolute privilege to come back. He's loved every minute of it. He's loved managing the players. He says that's why they were champions, and he also said the Celtic fans were the best in the world. So I'm sure, as you'll know, that got a massive cheer as well. So all in all, it was a great night at the office for Celtic and Martin O'Neill.
Well, a couple of close scares for Celtic in the game. I hear,
oh yes.
Towards the end of the first half, was there not? Dundee at the bar. Simon Murray, was it?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, Simon Murray smashed the bar early on in the second half, and there was also a couple of scares. Liam Scales got caught out at the back, misjudged the long balls on a couple of occasions as well, and that caused a few hairy moments. But Celtic just about held on, and they were good value for the victory. Daizen Maeda clipped the post towards the end as well. It's a bit of a stop-start game, especially in the first half. There was a few knocks, a couple of substitutions as well, and Kasper Schmeichel even took a sore one in the ankle, but he managed to play on. And obviously Daizen Maeda, after scoring, moving up the tunnel and get bandaged up, and he came. I don't know if you've seen the still picture that's doing the rounds, but he's got a really sore black eye. There we go, right on cue. But yeah, that's one thing about Daizen Maeda. He can never question his commitment. He might want this move in January, but he's fully committed to the cause. It was a really brave header. He really took one for the team there, and he was outstanding leading the line for Celtic. So if he goes in January, as we can expect, then he's going to leave massive shoes to fill.
There's a touch of the Rabzi Maida about that. picture there, wasn't there? That was a throwback.
He's not looking his best. Looked a bit like Terry Butcher.
We've got plenty of comments coming in on Martin O'Neill, on Celtic. If you want to get involved in the conversation, please do so. Obviously, I'll come to them in a wee minute, but obviously, Ryan, Wilfried Nancy was announced before kick-off tonight. A wee bit of a strange time to announce it.
Yeah, nothing really surprises you these days in modern football. But yeah, it was a bit of a strange time, and I think it was less than an hour before kick-off. I think the players found out a wee bit earlier than the rest of the world did. But yeah, it's been kind of a long time coming. We knew he was going to be announced at some point this week. It's happened tonight. He's going to be out taking the team at Lennoxtown for the first training session tomorrow, and then we expect he'll probably have his first media conference on Friday at Celtic Park. So it'll be interesting to hear what he's got to say. We've heard a lot over in America. He's obviously highly rated. He's done a brilliant job with Columbus Crew. Obviously led them to MLS Cup. I think he was 2024 MLS Coach of the Year as well. So he comes with a decent reputation. Probably not the CV which Celtic fans would expect of a Celtic manager, but it's I think Paul Tisdale's the one that's has led this recruitment drive, and he's really thrown his weight behind Wilfried Nancy. So as I said yesterday, for all the criticism that's levelled at the Celtic board, they tend to get managerial appointments right more often than not. From the the turn of the millennium, I think it's only Tony Mowbray that's not worked out for Celtic. So every other manager has been a success and won trophies. So clearly Dermot Desmond and the Celtic board are hoping that Wilfried Nancy is the latest success story.
Yeah, well, I think you've got to hope it's sort of more like the Ange Postecoglou appointment rather than the Ronnie Deila appointment, and that's the uncertainty. Where are you on this? Because even before the game tonight, even when Celtic were announcing that the deal was over the line, there was arguments going on about, is this the right time to do it? Should Martin O'Neill be kept? I know what you think, Daniel. Should Martin O'Neill be kept on even just to the cup final? Where are you in all that, Ryan? Because it's causing a debate.
Yeah, my view is there's got to come a point where a new manager needs to come in, and for me, I think he can set the narrative right away if he wins his next 3 games, starting this weekend against Hearts. That sees Celtic move top of the table if they win. Roma, if they manage to get a result against Roma, it really blows this kind of Europa League qualification race, if you like, wide open, and gives Celtic a real chance with the final heading into the final 2 games. And then in his 3rd game, he's got the chance to lift silverware. So it could potentially be a dream start for him. And Martin O'Neill, he's done an absolutely terrific job. As I say, I don't think there's any other figure in football that could have walked in and done the job that Martin O'Neill's done at Celtic. He was just the right man at the right time, and he's absolutely enhanced his reputation. As I think he'll probably go down as the 2nd greatest Celtic manager of all time behind Jock Stein. So I think this is the right time, and it seems a bit odd waving farewell to a manager who's just been named Manager of the Month. But this is Scottish football after all, the weird and wacky world of Scottish football. But yeah, I think this is the time for Nancy to step in, and as I say, he can get off to a dream start. And obviously as well, you've got the January transfer window coming up. You can't be have this kind of cloud of uncertainty hanging over Celtic when they made such a mess of the summer window. So they've really got to right the wrongs this next month. And this is a chance for Nancy to put his own stamp in the team as well. So yeah, it's a big period coming up. The festive period is always a really grueling month for SPFL teams. There's obviously no winter break this year either. You've got AFCON coming up, so Celtic are going to lose players. So it really is a massive period for them to be coming in. Yes, I can understand why some people might view it as a gamble. As I say, Martin O'Neill's won 7 out of his 8 games in charge. But there's got to come a point where Celtic need to look forward, and obviously they've now pressed ahead with the Nancy appointment.
You'd like to think as well, Ryan, if Celtic do win the 3rd domestic trophy of the season, that Martin O'Neill will be a special guest from the club, and maybe even up there on the podium, because he's played a significant part in getting there. If Celtic actually go on to lift that trophy, then I think it'd be quite nice if Martin O'Neill was part of those celebrations.
Yeah, what was it? Was it last year? It was Santa Claus that came out with a trophy. So I think this year, if indeed they win 5 in a row, it'll definitely be Martin O'Neill that will come out with a league trophy. come May. If obviously Hearts and well, less so Rangers at the minute, but if Hearts bow out the title race, then yeah, you'd expect Martin Neal to have some part of in
No,
the
I'm talking about
celebrations.
the Hampden, Ryan. I'm talking
Oh,
about the
sorry, I
league.
misheard you there. If you're talking about the League Cup, then I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. You know,
I think that'd be a nice touch all round.
Yeah, definitely. I think inside he might be a bit gutted. Let's be honest. If you're Martin O'Neill, you've loved every minute of managing Celtic. You've come so close to the League Cup final. You might be a bit. He's probably inside. He's probably a bit disappointed. He's not going to be leading them out of Hampden. But yeah, I think he'll definitely. Celtic will definitely have a set of tickets, a pair of tickets, safely stowed away for him if he wants it. But to me, he's just the type of guy that probably he kind of likes to duck out the limelight, and you might see this as Wilfried Nancy's moment as well if Celtic are to emerge victorious at Hampden against St Mirren. So I don't know. You can never really second guess, Martin.
He'll probably have a TV gig for the final anyway, won't he? So there you go. He'll be there.
He'll be short of offers. Just before we let you go, Ryan, was it yourself in last night's hotline that was saying that Nancy seems to prefer a 3-4-3? Was it yourself or was it?
Yeah, 3-4-3 is the typical formation he's played over stateside. So yeah, but I mean, the thing is, I don't think he's going to come in right away and make radical changes this weekend, for example, against Hearts. I think the way this team's running at the minute, I wouldn't expect too many changes to the team sheet or indeed the system. I think that will be a gradual process, and then you might see more significant changes in the summer and pre-season, which is when you'll really have a chance to implement your system. But yeah, you obviously, I'm not qualified to tell the Celtic manager what to do, but I can't see him making wholesale changes or sweeping changes to the system or the team sheet over the coming weeks or months.
Ryan, listen, you're never going to make it in this game if you say stuff like that. Of course you're qualified to tell the Celtic manager what to do. And every other manager for that point.
Ryan, I know you've got some post-match duties to be getting on with, so we'll let you go. But as ever, thanks so much for coming on the Hotline Live. We appreciate it.
Brilliant. Cheers, lads. I'll let you go over what was a titanic night in Scottish football.
Absolutely. Cheers, Ryan.
Cheers.
Ryan McDonald there from Celtic Park. Keith, I was putting up a plethora of comments thanking Martin O'Neill from Celtic fans.
Yeah.
Peg Leg Lonergan has put it up there a minute ago, mentioning that it was, in his eyes, it was baffling that Martin O'Neill didn't get the Hearts game. He says it's utterly ridiculous. Where do you stand on that?
There's two camps, isn't there? And I think I've flipped a little bit, because originally I was in the camp, look, do you know what? He's a 73-year-old man. This is an enormous physical and mental strain that Celtic placed him under. I thought he, in that game, the midweek in Midtjylland, thought it looked like it had taken a bit of a toll, this sort of whirlwind. And then, of course, 1 week and one win after the next, he's getting his energy, he's loving it. And then to cap it all off, and I think that the most significant moment for me was the result away at Feyenoord, where you're thinking, well, wait a minute here. Something is actually happening. This isn't just... Now, look, I think probably the expectation level as well internally would be, look, Martin can come in, he can mind the till for us, might win a couple, might lose a couple, might drop a couple of points, but it'll steady a little bit and give us a bit of breathing space to make a decision. But actually what's happened is the opposite of that. He's actually set off like Martin O'Neill, the miracle worker from the turn of the century.
Yeah.
The impact has been nothing short of remarkable. And as I said previously, that there is an element there that because of that, if he'd been a bit more erratic, if the results hadn't been as good as they have been, then Wilfried Nancy would the potential downside of pointing Wilfried Nancy is less, because look, it wasn't going great anyway. But Celtic are going to have to do some explaining if this change is made, and all of a sudden results start falling by the wayside again, and Hearts start picking up traction. If Hearts were to go to Celtic Park and get a win at the weekend, which looks unlikely given that they're wobbling quite badly just now, but that might be an opportunity for them to go and play the game, not get distracted by where they are on the table. Just go and concentrate playing a game of football. And if they were to win that one, and that's Wilfried Nancy's debut in the dugout, it's a difficult start. So there's so many ways of looking at it, but ultimately it'll be decided by what the results look like when Wilfried Nancy takes over from tomorrow morning. If he gets off to a flyer, then Celtic have just managed this absolutely perfect. If it goes badly, then you know that there's something coming down the pipe and it's going to be aimed directly at the Celtic boardroom from a group of fans that don't want to cut them any slack. So it's, who knows? As I said, we're now reaching the unpredictable stages where we're just going to have to sit back and see what sort of impact Wilfried Nancy has on Celtic. If he can keep Celtic winning games the way that Martin O'Neill has, everyone's going to be hunky-dory. But if there's a settling in period where results suffer, it could get a little bit tricky.
Absolutely. It won't be boring, that's for sure.
No.
Away from Celtic Park, Keith, we've had so many fans in the comments asking us about the Rangers game, particularly about the penalty decision. I need to hold my hands up. I was working for Record Sport on the Celtic game, so I haven't seen it. But let me throw a couple of these comments at you. Derek says, why don't you call out the SFA and refs about a ridiculous penalty decision? David says the Rangers non-penalties, these penalties given this last number of weeks is getting out of hand. Lads need calling it out. Uncle James says, never a penalty in a million years at Tannadice. Tell me you guys agree. Mark's asking our thoughts on it as well. And this one says, Rangers very lucky there wasn't a clear penalty and they could have conceded one. Talk me through it, Keith.
Well, where to start? I mean, what I would say is the Rangers were claiming for a penalty earlier in the second half when Gassama went down. And I think it was David Dickinson was the ref. And very quickly, by the way, he just flashed a yellow card, booked Gassama for simulation. And I thought, oh, need to take another look at that. It was absolutely the right call. There was no contact. It was a good decision. And he didn't need VAR to make the decision. He made it with his own eyes at full speed. So that was good refereeing. There's a lot of debate over the penalty that's given in the last seconds of injury time. For me, I think he's called it right. I think I'm trying to remember who the Dundee United player is there. It's Ferry, who is blindsided a little bit. The ball's coming over his shoulder. I don't think he knows that Max Aarons is running onto it. It looked at first as if he might have made contact with Max. So he's taking a swipe.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what the referee thinks he's seen it, but there wasn't clear contact with the boot. But Max Aarons' momentum then carries him forward. Ferry's momentum carries him forward, and there's like a knee on thigh. There is a collision. It's contact. I don't know. I think it was probably the right decision. But certainly VAR took a good look at it and didn't ask him to go back over the monitor. That doesn't always mean that VAR have got it right, as we well know by now. But that one, I think they just about got it right. But you know, it's a grey area, that one. There was a kind of very decent penalty claim for Dundee United when Fernandez handballs it inside the penalty box. The commentary team watching it were astonished that VAR weren't all over it. I was pretty surprised myself. The one thing that you would say, if you were for the benefit of the doubt for Fernandez, he is actually trying to move his hand in and away from the ball rather than out and towards. But in this season, you've seen them given. You've not seen them given because it was actually pretty similar to the one. Was it Livy didn't get Ibrox?
Aye. That was Fernandez as well, wasn't it?
It was Fernandez as well. On this occasion, he is bringing his arm back in towards his body as the ball hits, which has probably got him out of jail. But if that had been given, I'm not sure VAR would have overruled it either. But these things, they are hard to see, split-second stuff. But that's when VAR, you're looking to study this, guys. And if you think the ref should take another look at it and call him over. But it was an incredible game of football. It's a terrible result again for Rangers. I did say a couple of days ago that this is a really important kind of 10 days for Danny Roll, that, you know, if he doesn't pick up a win on the road at Tannadice, Rugby Park on Saturday night, and away to Ferencváros. Sorry, my head is going here, guys. Then I think he comes back to Ibrox to play Hibs on the 15th of December, and it's not going to be a happy place. And the irony being, Daniel, that performance that you side put on tonight, you know, I criticised them after the Ball Cup game. I said that I didn't see the manager. You've got three main kind of strands to your job. It's to organise, motivate, and improve. And what I would say is that Rangers performance tonight, they did look a bit more organised and motivated, and it was an improvement. But it's still a terrible result. And at the end of the day, as we all know, you live or die by your results. I'm guessing that I would cut him a bit of slack on this one for the simple reason some of the players that he's having to rely on right now are just miles off, just nowhere near, and never will be.
Not Rangers players.
Yeah, nowhere near it. Fernandez, you know, between him and Giga, their defence was swinging open like a barn door in the wind. Dundee United could have got through. It was a brilliant opening goal. It was again Fernandez, he was out of position, kind of over on the left hand side. Osford kind of skins him, and then it's a beautiful finish. A little dink finish over Jack Butland. Some great goals in it. Magoma scores a cracking equaliser for Rangers. And then Fatah scores a stunner for United. It was just a good game of football.
Aye, absolutely. We're hoping to get one or two of the guys on from Tannadice. We might be able to listen to some of the press conference, I think, Keith. It's Jim Goodwin just now. Shall I bring the volume up, see what you say?
Yeah, okay, let's see.
From the left back. You know, we defended well. The goalkeeper made big saves at key moments as well. But you know, I think if we managed to get first to that ball on the edge of the box in the 96th or 97th minute or whatever it was, then I'm pretty sure the referee blows for full time, and it's going to be a really memorable night here at Tannadice, and a really valuable 3 points. So at this moment in time, as you can imagine, the dressing room is very, very flat.
Do you go into the dressing room and focus on the mistake of that goal and the penalty that's awarded, or do you try and focus on the positives of two wonderful goals you scored?
I mean, look, it's not something I tend to do a great deal of after games in terms of over-analysing. There's a lot of emotion, as you would imagine, a lot of disappointment down there in the dressing room. You know, I think I could, you know, take the goal, the second one for Rangers, back another half a minute where we're in a really good position in a dangerous counter-attack. And, you know, it's a poor execution of pass. I think it's a poor run as well at the top end of the pitch, and we turn over possession cheaply, and then within half a minute, the ball is back up the other end, and that's what leads to the penalty. You know, there's a lot of tired legs out there. We're not, you know, pointing fingers at Will Ferry. It's a genuine attempt to go and play the ball. I just think the Rangers player in that moment was just that little bit sharper. You know, we're not carrying a great deal of luck at the moment, and I'm, you know, convinced that if we keep performing like we are, you know, just now, then I'm convinced we can turn these draws. I think it's 5 draws in the last 8 games we've had. But if we can perform at that level more consistently, then, you know, those draws will soon become victories.
Is it testament to how well you've played that you're disappointed once again with another draw against Rangers?
Yeah, I mean, look, we were here at Ibrox as well, where we were winning 2-1 with 5 minutes to go, and we conceded an equaliser. But, you know, look, I don't want to take anything away from Rangers. I thought Rangers actually played some good stuff themselves at times. I thought they, you know, created some good goal-scoring opportunities. I think they've hit the woodwork a couple of times. Like I said, my goalkeeper, I thought had a terrific night and made some really big saves. But, you know, we came into the game tonight with the mindset of trying to win it. You know, I think everybody that's watched it would see that we, you know, tried to be aggressive in our press and our possession. We tried to get after Rangers at the top end of the pitch. I thought we forced them into mistakes at times and going long, which is something that they don't particularly want to do. Carried a real threat on the counter-attack, scored a couple of really, really good goals. You know, Zach Sapsford with a good individual goal, a fantastic finish over Butland, and then Amar Fatah obviously had a couple of good chances on the night, but that one in the second half is very much what he's capable of. So, there are, of course, positives that we can take, and of course there's lessons that we can also take from the bits that we need to do better. And that's ultimately my job and what we need to try and do.
Jim, how excited are you by Amar and just the talent that he's got and the levels that he's still got to go to?
Yeah, he's a terrific young player. He's got a great profile and everything that you would look for in the modern day winger. He's 6'1", strong physically. Aerially competes well. He's got a great turn of pace. He's very brave on the ball and will take it in tight areas. And when he gets turned and running at defenders, that's when he's at his best. Putting defenders on the back foot. He can go either way. He can come in on his stronger right foot. He's not afraid to go down the outside on his left foot either. So, we've got a really good relationship with Man City, and very grateful to them for thinking that Dundee United was the right club for Amar in the next stage of his development. And performances like that will certainly give him confidence. He has to add more goal contributions to his game. I think that's the big part that he's trying to improve, whether that's scoring like he did tonight or assisting for his teammates. But really pleased for him, and just disappointed for the rest of the group.
Should you have had a penalty in the second half with a potential handball?
I watched it back, and I know the incident you're talking about from the long throw. Of course, I would have loved it to be given, but if that type of penalty was awarded against one of my defenders, I think I'd be a little bit disappointed. We did see an incident at Easter Road at the weekend where I don't think Liam Scales knows a great deal about the ball in that instance either, and the penalty was given tonight. Unfortunately, it's not given from our perspective, but I don't blame the officials for what happened here tonight. Slightly different in terms of what happened at the weekend at Rugby Park, where we had a penalty given against us that we believe shouldn't have been. Tonight I thought David Dickinson refereed the game particularly well, and we don't look to blame him. We have to look at ourselves and see where we can do better.
Who's playing camera?
Just a little bit of.
Quite a magnanimous Jim Goodwin.
Yeah, very philosophical, and that Jim Goodwin can be a bit of a firebrand. Feels he's been let down or mistreated by the officials. He's not afraid to come out and say it. So I think he's sort of agreeing with my summation on these two big decisions. He's not arguing with the Rangers penalty. I think he's right. I think Aaron's. I just don't think that Wilfried is aware of Aaron's position. And there is a coming together, and it's probably the right decision. And if it wasn't, and if Jim Goodwin felt it wasn't, then he would have come out and said that.
We've got, this won't surprise you, Keith, but we've got a lot of comments disagreeing with you in regards to the penalty call. Stuart says, you need to get to Specsavers, Keith. George says, right decision. Keith, wow, are you kidding? Pegleg says, a collision is not a penalty, Keith. Uncle James says, this isn't a penalty, Keith. He clears the ball. Come on. Mark says, I'm so old, I can remember when football was a contact sport. This one from brother Wilfried Jr. says, passed off the park. The referee was Rangers' best player tonight. It's pathetic, really. And finally, John says, Gassama's a cheat and refs are calling him out. He could have had a shot on goal if he'd stayed on his feet. Fat at the other end, kept on going and scored for his goal. So, fairly strong responses.
Yeah, but listen, I rest my case. Jim Goodwin's just sat there and said to everybody, it was a penalty kick. I'm not blaming the official. So, I don't think there's anything much more to say on that.
That's it. Exhibit A.
Yeah, the comment about Gassama, that is interesting, because I wondered if David Dickinson just suspected that Gassama was looking to go down easy because he is getting a little bit of a reputation for it.
Mm-hmm.
And Amar Fatah, brilliant contribution for Dundee United. It's actually a real good ding-dong, almost like a basketball match. It was a good watch. As I said to you, I'm not going to say it was just as high in quality as the Fulham Man City game from last night, but it was a cracking watch. And it was, see all the things that I've been criticising Rangers for in terms of lack of aggression, lack of energy, lack of urgency, lack of purpose. Well, it was all there tonight. So on the one hand, I kind of doffed my hat a little bit to Danny Roll, because the performance against Falkirk at the weekend was devoid of all of these factors. That was much more like it, but still another terrible result for a side which, when Rangers won 4 in a row, Daniel, you asked me a question. can we consider Rangers now part of the title race? And I said to you, absolutely not, because you'll need to wait and see what the next 2 or 3 games bring. And what the next 2 games have brought is 4 drop points.
Yeah, I think before we wrap up, we can maybe look at all of the results from tonight. Obviously, Aberdeen 3, St Mirren 3. We mentioned St Mirren on last night's show and the night before as well. Actually, that's okay. They didn't win, but obviously they stopped the rot at 7 straight defeats.
By the way, that equaliser, St Mirren's equaliser comes, I think, in the 99th minute of injury time tonight.
Wow. And boy, they needed it.
Yeah, and that might just give them a little bit of a platform because they've been desperate for something to hold on to. I listened to Stephen Robinson speak before the game, and he was saying that the performances have been way better than the results. It's just been the details at both ends of the pitch that they just need to tidy up in their own box and in the opposition penalty area. So it sounds as if they've sorted the details in Aberdeen's penalty box, but not quite in their own. But it sounds as if it was a cracking game, that one. I think Aberdeen probably shaded the first half. I think St Mirren pummeled them towards the end. Scored 2 equalisers. They got back to 2-2. Then it went 3-2. And then it went 3-3 in the 99th minute. So another cracking game of football. A late equaliser for Kilmarnock at Hearts. That will really knock the wind out of the sails of the Hearts supporters, who must have thought they were finally getting back on track with a home win. And for Derek McInnes, of course, it was Bruce Anderson, the boy that he introduced at Aberdeen, promoted into the first team, that comes up with the late equaliser there. Sorry. And I think
you're soldiering on.
Celtic versus Dundee doesn't sound like a spectacular performance. I felt the atmosphere sounded a bit flat as well, given what was at stake and what was going on with the manager. But it's 3 points. It's a mic drop for Martin O'Neill. Absolute terrific job, well done. And Falkirk Motherwell's probably the disappointment. I think a lot of people were looking at that one thinking that might be an absolutely terrific game of football, but 0-0. Honours shared, I guess.
We're having a lot of people in the comments, Keith, or certainly a few, saying that Hearts' title challenge is over, that they've crumbled.
Well, let's see what happens at Celtic Park on Sunday, because there would then be a kind of body of evidence behind them. Was that no wins in 6 now? If it becomes no win in 7, and it's particularly if Celtic win that game, then it becomes a really difficult moment for them in terms of their credentials to offer up a real fight, which we had been expecting all the way to the line, because it's starting to look a little bit almost like Aberdeen's kind of fall off a cliff. But the flip side of that is, if they can go to Celtic Park and get a win there, pull themselves out of this run of winless games, but with the maximum statement win that you could possibly conjure, i.e. at the home of the champions, well, it's game on again, isn't it? So I think we'll have to reserve judgment until we see, and there's so many imponderables about that, because Wilfried Nancy's first game, is he going to change the system? Is he going to change the team? What's Celtic going to look like? Will Derek McInnes outsmart him? He knows his way around Scottish football. So that game's got so much on it. It's going to be absolutely fascinating.
Mr. Ewan in the comments says, seriously, Motherwell could finish 3rd ahead of Rangers. They're obviously now above Rangers in goal difference. I thought we should maybe just give them a quick mention, because what a season they're having. I mean, the manager's had such an impact.
And they're a great watch. I mean, I remember watching Motherwell play Rangers off the park at the start of this season, and you're thinking to yourself, well, they're playing football the way that Russell Martin promised his side was going to play football. They're doing it in an absolute shoestring, and they passed Rangers to death at Fir Park. I thought they were...
Did the same at Celtic Park to Celtic for a long time,
And then they had a kind of Suicide Squad moment at the back, didn't they, which kind of changed the game, the momentum of the game. But they've been a great watch. Probably not scoring as many goals as they would like. It'd be brilliant if they could get funds to bring in somebody that might be able to do something about that in the January transfer window. But in terms of the way they're playing the game, I think, massive kudos to them. But if they had that striker, you wonder, obviously we've not seen the game tonight, but you just wonder how many chances did they get. If they've got an absolute poacher in there, and to the 0-0 draws away to Falkirk turn into 1-0 wins.
Yeah.
It was
Just
highly impressive.
aye, absolutely. But just finally, before we say our goodbyes, this is the last time that we'll speak. Oh no, I'm thinking it's do you know? See, because it's a late night show, I'm thinking it's Thursday.
Thursday night European special.
I was going to ask you for your weekend predictions, but I guess I can do that tomorrow.
And you think? I mean, I'm struggling here. My head's absolute fog. And you don't know the difference between a domestic card and a European night.
Oh, you know what day it is. That's how much
Yeah,
we're struggling.
that's it. Literally.
Well, I think on that note, then, that brings us to the end of Wednesday night's Hotline Live. Thank you very much for joining us on a late night edition. We massively appreciate it. And the comments as well have been brilliant as always. As I say, we'll be back to do it all again at 6 p.m. tomorrow. We hope you can join us then.
If I make it through the night,
I was going to say, if you survive, it'd be great if you could join me then.
I'll try.
Hope you feel better, and thanks for watching at home. Cheers.